Hi, welcome to Dreamcatcher, the program where you can find peace through understanding, dreams, and visions. Okay, Lexi, I'm at a family reunion and I'm exploring my family. So, Lexi, you have been having dreams.
Yeah.
Tell me what you've been dreaming.
There was this teardrop shaped field, I think. There was this big tree right in the middle of it, and there was a road going right outside the left of it. I was with a group of kids that I don't even remember their faces, and I don't think I knew. But after that, for some reason, a dragon showed up and started chasing us off into the road, and after that, a car just came, and that's it.
Okay, well, a tree in the Bible is life. And when you look outside and you see the trees, they have leaves and they come back to life every year. So a tree represents life. But this life is in a tear shape, so there's some sadness. There's been some sadness in your life. And you have people around you, and even though you're with friends, sometimes, you don't know them, and sometimes you may not feel like you connect like you might want to. And a car is a ministry, so I don't know how the car didn't really connect with you guys at all. You just remember it, but it was enough that you remember it.
Yeah.
So that's showing you that there is a ministry, and I believe that means that God is sending someone whose ministry is going to be that will help you and come in and love you and take, with the life and some of the sadness in this life. This is my niece, Mamie, from Virginia, and she has a dream she's going to share with me now.
I was at the hospital, and I was with a bunch of friends and so forth, and I knew the friends, and there was like this virus, and there were these people, and they were killing other people, and they were just, and nobody seemed worried about it. They were just like, it's okay, and I was like, this is not okay, something's wrong, and so I ended up taking matters into my own hands, and I took them out. and that's all I remember from the dream, so I don't really know that this was a good dream to share, but this was my dream.
The Lord is really speaking to you there, because you're in a hospital, and that's where people go to be healed. And there are sick people all around us.
Right.
And in this dream, these people aren't just catching a virus, someone is giving them a virus.
Right.
So the Bible tells us that in the last days there's going to be false prophets.
Okay.
Those are people who are standing up and physically giving people lies and viruses, things that kill them. And even just people who aren't in the ministry, professors at colleges who teach our children that we came from a monkey. I mean, these are viruses. These are things that kill us. And you're looking around going, hey, this is not okay.
Right.
And obviously we don't want you taking people out, but God's people are warriors. We're warriors, but we war in the spirit.
Right.
Our weapons are not they're godly. The word says that we don't war against flesh and blood.
Right.
That our weapons are mighty for pulling down strongholds. And that's what he's showing you. In the dream it shows up as yes. That you were taking a stand for what is right. That we've got to stop this. We've got to. A lie is a virus.
Right.
And people are being lied to, and the virus is, we're calling evil good and good evil. And we're saying things are okay that aren't okay.
Right.
And you have something in you that goes no. And so God's calling you to be that voice, and you can destroy the enemy, not innocent people that are sick, but people that are making people sick. You can destroy the enemy. You can with him, with his weapons.
Yeah.
So he's called you. You're a warrior.
Yeah. Good.
That's a good dream.
Hey there! I have a dream testimony to share with you. So the last 6 months, I had a dog who was having some health issues, and his health started to decline. And I knew that it would be a possibility we might have to put him down, and I was struggling. I had told the Lord, I don't want to decide the giver of life and death. And I know that might seem silly to some, but it was honestly the weight and anxiety I was feeling. And so I had taken my dog into an appointment thinking that it was going to improve him, but it did not. And I went home and he did not improve like I thought he was going to. And I thought, oh no, I need to take him in for another appointment. He needs to be seen urgently. Well, right before all of that, I had had a dream. And in the dream, I had taken my dog to an appointment. And the nurse was asking me what was the problem and what was wrong, and I explained. And she didn't even hardly look at him. She just looked at me and she said, "I'm so sorry." And she just kept apologizing to me over and over as if she were giving her condolences. And I didn't really like what she had to say. And so, of course, I was questioning the situation and I woke up. Well, that day when I went to take my dog in for a second appointment, I was still struggling. I said, "Lord, please show me. Please show me the right decisions to make." Well, when I opened the door of that vet office, the very first person that I saw was that woman from my dream who I have never met before. And so she didn't say anything to me. She was talking to another patient. But as I sat in the waiting room, I was sobbing. And I knew the Lord was showing me that it was his time. And so he ended up putting him down. And it was so very sad. But I was also so grateful. I thought, wow, Lord, you showed me. I felt like that weight had been lifted, even though I did ultimately become the one to make the decision. I felt like the Lord was confirming to me that I was making the right decision and I wasn't feeling the weight of that. And so I share that to encourage others to really give your hard parts of life to the Lord. Tell him your every anxiety, everything that is bothering you, everything that weighs you down. Because I thought, if the Lord can guide me with an issue with my dog, my pet, how much more can he guide us, his people, his children, whom he loves so much. And so the word says that he knows every hair on our heads. He already knows everything that we're facing in our lives. But not only does he know, he cares so deeply for us. The word also says that he is near the brokenhearted. Whatever breaks our heart, whatever is weighing on our heart, he is close to us. All we have to do is just look to him and ask. And we can ask for strength. We can ask for wisdom, and he will give it. And so I'm so thankful for the Lord walking me through that. And so I just share that to encourage anyone out there who is struggling with a hard thing and you don't know what to do or you don't know where to turn. But you don't have to turn anywhere. You just have to look to the Father.
Oh, Alicia, thank you for sharing that dream and what happened afterwards. That's a beautiful example of one of the many reasons God gives us dreams. Sometimes they don't need explanation or interpretation. God wanted to prepare your spirit for a tough time ahead. The scripture says for us to cast our cares on him because he cares for us. And like you said, that means all the details. If it's important to you, it's important to God. Thank you for sending that.
Did you hear that? Take a look. Oh, by the way, thank you for tuning in to Dreamcatcher. I had the privilege of going to Israel this year, and it's called a shofar. Well, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a quick story about this shofar. I told my wife when we knew we were going, and I said, the hymn moment I'm looking for is also a shofar is involved in it. And Kim, my wife, said, well, you can buy a shofar anywhere. I said, you can. But not my shofar. You can't buy it anywhere. Because God has a shofar for me. That's different than just a shofar. Well, so we went over there. And as you can well guess, there was plenty of these over there. I mean, you couldn't hardly walk any direction that there wasn't a place that had a shofar. And I'm thinking, well, I'm in Israel. It don't get much better than that to buy a shofar. So I started looking. And have you ever had that feeling in your life that you go, it ain't that one? I just know it's not that one. And there were all kinds of them. They were tall ones, and they were little ones, and they were skinny ones, and they were fatter ones, and there was high dollar ones, and there was some El Cheapo. Well, the first day I started looking. Second day I looked, and we was over there 10 days. And you would think in 10 days I'd find one. Well, after about the 5th or 6th day, I thought, and I've looked. I looked everywhere. I even picked a few up that were they were nice. But it wasn't the one for me. Because I know when God speaks to me, how he speaks to me, and none of them spoke to me. And I know sometimes that's the most craziest statement I've ever said, but God deals with each individually different. He deals with me a specific way. Well, long story short, it was like 2 days before we left, and I hadn't bought one yet. My wife come to me and said, "What are you doing? You've passed up thousands of shofars." I said, "I know. But I'll know when I get to it." And as she was walking in front of me, I was praying behind her, going, "Now, God, I know I can buy a shofar and have it shipped. I know I can get one anywhere. But God, I want the one you have for me. And is it here? Where's it at? Because I ain't found it yet." And I know I was going to have a him moment. We had the privilege to go to Bethlehem. Try not to tear up. But I was in Bethlehem. We got to go to a jewelry store. And everybody was getting jewelry and all kinds of stuff. And I looked at my wife and I said, "My shofar's here. And I don't see any." She said, "You didn't see the ones you walked in?" I said, "No, honey, I didn't see them." And so each one of us had a person that helped us. This young lady walked up to me and said, "Sir, I'll be happy to help you." And she was a Jew. Just a sweetheart of a salesperson. And I said, "Ma'am, I've come here to buy my shofar today. Where are they at?" And she took me over there, and there was a big tube of them, and they were protruding out of this 5 foot, 10 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot, 2 foot. And she proceeded to get one or two of them. And as she was doing that, I knew I had one shot at this. And I said, "Ma'am, I know you want to sell, but you got to back off a minute. Because I know my shofar's here. I just ain't seen it yet." So she stepped back, and as she did, I started praying and saying, "God, which one of these is mine?" I didn't ask price. I didn't care the price. I wanted my shofar. She proceeded to grab back in and do it. And I said, "Ma'am, thank you so much. But I've got one shot at this, and I've got to know that this is the one God gave me, not because it's a better price or whatever." I said, "Ma'am, will you just step back?" And she did ever so kindly. As I looked, I grabbed this one and I grabbed that one, and this one, this much was sticking down in the bottom. I didn't know how big that thing was. that much was sticking out. And I went, oh. And it was down, twisted, down inside. And all that was sticking out was this. Out of the 50 or 60 that was there. And as I touched it, the Spirit of God come upon me. And I eased it out by itself. And when it come unwound, I held it like this. And I said, God, is this the one? And tears started rolling down my face. And I couldn't turn it loose. And I held it. And the Spirit of God come on me and said, yes, this is the one I want you to have. And when I got that, I started wiping the tears. And I looked, and the young lady was crying. And I said, take and put this up. This is the one God wants me to have. I didn't even look at the price. I didn't care the price. She went and put it up. She came back to me. She said, what else would you like? And she started wiping the tears off her face. And I said, oh, my wife is looking for some jewelry for her friends. And this is why I came here today. My shofar was here. And she looked at me, she stopped me, and she put her hand on mine and said, how did you know that was the one? And I looked at her and I said, you know the one you call Yahweh? He lives right here. The one you call Jehovah Jireh, my provider? He lives right here. And she turned and grabbed my hand and said, I know. Because when he talked to you, he touched my heart too. Will you pray for me? I said, I'll be happy to. I would love to. I grabbed her hand and I said, every time I blow this shofar, I'm going to blow it for you. She said, thank you. I needed that today. Well, I told this story to some people in Texas. And a young man that I love dearly looked at me and said, God took you all the way to Israel for that woman. And I went, and I thought it was for a shofar. And it was. So this shofar is the one God spoke to me to get. And it's stamped from Bethlehem, the land where promise came from. Wow. Hope it blessed your heart. And this is how it sounds. Till next time, catch your dream. Catch your dream.
This one is actually really detailed, but it's really, really short.
Okay.
This one was when I was about 3 or 4, and I still live with my mom's husband, which he wasn't really good to us. Not that much, at least. I was playing outside, and everybody else was inside. The dogs were in their cages up on the hill, and the little burial for our pet deer that got killed by coyotes were there. There was this big semi-truck, for some reason, coming down the little dirt road that we had, and there was this big puddle that looked bottomless right by it, and for some reason I didn't want one of the tires to run over it, so I ran over there and laid down on it, and the truck actually ran over me, but it just stopped. It didn't hurt or anything, just felt suffocating. After that, all I remember is just being at the top of the parking lot again. And that's really it.
Wonderful.
Did you, were you ever part of a church where you got hurt, a ministry or a church of some type?
We used to go to church, but my grandparents worked too much for that. I've actually been trying to get back into it. My good friend Alex, he actually told me of a bus that picks kids up and takes them to church, and I was thinking that I could do that since my grandparents work so much they can't.
Because vehicles and dreams represent a move of God or a ministry of some type. A semi-truck is a place that carries our goods. It carries our food. That's where we get our provisions from. And then there's this bottomless pit. This, it seems like there's no end to it. And you're trying to protect that. So, you've thrown yourself down as a sacrifice to protect this ministry. And what was happening before that? I'm sorry.
I was actually just standing outside, looking down at what I think was just a little tiny creek at the bottom of the little dirt road. It was like straight down, but I'm not too sure if that's real because I haven't been there for a long time.
But you were talking about your mom's husband. How does that relate to this?
It's just the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
House.
Whenever you have a dream, and that's the past, right? Okay. Whenever you have a dream of about a house is usually you, because we house the Holy Spirit. That's why in a dream, when you have a dream about a house, the Lord lets you be the house. And this is back then. This is a different time. And so you're look at what you're talking about. You're talking about laying yourself down, sacrificing. There was some sacrifice in that life when you lived in that house. And I don't know age-wise where you fit in the family, but you've taken some real responsibility there to kind of, to be the one to lay yourself down. And the pit, you said it's a puddle. It
looks like it has water, but it does look bottomless.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can. It just, as soon as I looked at it, it seemed like a regular puddle to me, but just bottomless.
Well, that's cool, because that means that you can look at something that other people see as, normal, okay, but you see deeper in.
That's what I do.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, your dream tells that. Your dream shows that what other people are going to see as just a puddle, you see as deeper. And you knew that truck, as big as it was, it looked invincible, that it was in danger, and you knew to lay yourself down for it. And this is something you've been doing since whatever age that was when you lived there. I mean, that was pretty young, but even then you were already developing these characteristics, which goes with your other dream that you told me earlier about the people. I said I feel like the Lord is calling you to kind of lead your generation. That makes sense, because what they're going to see as a puddle, you're going to see as the real danger that's there. That's especially as young as you are. A lot of things we think are fun and exciting, but you're able to see deeper. Yeah. So that's good. You're a good friend to have at your age.
I love all my friends, and I'm surprised that they actually stay near me. When I used to live in Ohio, I was actually sort of the anchor for the group that I had.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they all really came to talk to me. After that, I kept in touch with one of my friends, but we fell out of it recently. And she said that everybody else faded away. So,
well, in the pirate dream, weren't you the one carrying the box?
I think so. I think it was me and another person, though.
So you had help, but you're not a follower. Your dreams show you that you're not a follower. You're a leader, and that you don't just look on the surface. You look deeper, and those are wonderful qualities. So even though you might not have had a good childhood, a young childhood, you've been able to get through that well. And that's very good. That's good. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Hey Robin, a while back you interpreted a series of dreams that I had had and a few people I knew had had of me being pregnant. Now, of course, I have 6 children, and so when I dream of pregnancy, I'm asking the Lord, is this a real baby? But I knew that it wasn't a real baby. I knew that the Lord was going to birth a new thing, as you confirmed, as the Lord has been confirming in different dreams. However, I was a little confused because the Lord had just walked me through a season of purging and simplifying in my life. Things that I had been saying yes to that I now needed to say no to. Well, he was carving out space for another thing. And so I was a little bit hesitant because I felt the Lord pushing me to take a step out in faith to start teaching a class full of middle schoolers at our church. I do not feel like the most qualified. I do not feel the most equipped, but I could feel that nudge to take a step forward. Well, I finally came forward after some bantering and going back and forth with the Lord and really wanting to make sure that I was making the right choice. So when I took a step forward and I told our children's director that I was willing to step forward and take on this class, I had a dream. And in that dream, I was looking at me and my husband, and we had just found out that we were expecting, and he was kissing me, and we were crying tears of joy because we were so excited about this new thing that was about to come. And when I first had that dream, I didn't understand. But after I have now taught a class of middle schoolers at our church, I understand what the Lord was showing me. And he was showing me that something beautiful had been conceived, that something beautiful was set into motion, that he is going to birth a new thing within myself, within these children, within our church. And although, like the pregnancy process, it's not easy, it's not always comfortable, it's tiresome, it is worth it. And so I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the dream interpretations and confirming what the Lord was showing me in my life. And then, the Lord too, when I still was in question of asking the Lord what that was, what that new thing was going to be, I realized it was already under my nose. So thank you for that.
There is so much important information and revelation in what you just heard Alicia say. So many times we feel like we've missed God because we thought he told us to do a thing and now he's telling us not to. It doesn't mean that he didn't tell you to do it in the first place. It was time for him to make room for something else. I love in the dream that the husband is totally on board, which he was, and because she listened to this, because she didn't just say, oh, I miss God, or get angry at God because he closed some doors, she trusted him, that he knew what was best. She stepped in it, and look where she is. She is now imparting wisdom and truth to other people, to the children in her church. God has a plan for you, and it isn't always something we know about, and sometimes it may feel like we missed him. Trust him. Ask Holy Spirit. Thank you for that revelation and that wisdom. How powerful.